Hey, what's happening, everybody? Robert Phoenix here. Good morning. It's another edition of 15 Minutes of Flame. And how the heck is everyone? Running a little bit late today. You know, it's the holidays. We're kind of easing into the holidays a little bit. So I'll be doing a show tomorrow. I'm definitely doing a show on Sunday night. So you want to check that out. There's a lot to talk about astrologically, obviously. So that'll be happening. And then Monday, I'm off on Monday as I normally am, and then I think I'll do Tuesday as a bit of a wrap for the kind of the week. Little gal's coming in from California, so I get to spend some time with her, and then we're into Christmas. So let me just check my schedule and see what we've got date wise. So I'll be doing a show. That's Christmas Eve, huh? Tuesday. Yeah, maybe I'll do a show then. Definitely on Sunday night. Of course, we'll have the Friday forecast tomorrow. I'll be flying solo. And let's see. I'll probably do the Friday forecast on the 27th as well. But 24th, 25th, 26th, likely kind of taking those days off. I'll be back on the 29th for the final Sunday Night Live, Astro Live. So that'll be good. And then what do we have? New Year's Eve on Tuesday, the last show of the year. Why don't we do that? Why don't we have like a New Year's Eve party for 15 Minutes of Flame? And then I'll kick back in on Thursday the 2nd, Friday the 3rd. So some days off coming up here just to give you a look into the schedule. Let's see who's in the chat room. We got Ian, we got Jennifer. Oh, the sound is off. Oh, sorry about that. Hold on. Thank you. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, I don't know what's up with this mic, man. I don't know. I thought I would have this mic happening, but it's not happening. Okay, let me go just straight to the computer, okay? The system, there we go. That should probably be okay. That gets us into the green. How's that? Are we good? Are we good? I think I could probably trash this these headphones. It's a pity. I thought they were going to work out and give me a decent sound quality. Let's check with you guys for a second. Is that better? I bought something from your website. Check your email. Okay, I will check it out. Bettering, good, much better. Okay. All right. Now my hair's a little messed up. So yeah, I was just looking at the schedule for the next few days, and what you missed was me going over the schedule. So just giving you a heads up here. Here's what we've got. We have the Friday forecast tomorrow, Sunday Night Astro Live on the 22nd. Then that'll probably do it for the week. I'll do a Friday forecast on Friday, and then I will do the last Astro Live of the year on the 29th, and I'll be doing my prediction. That'll be my prediction show. On the 31st, which is New Year's, I'll do a show on New Year's Eve, and then we'll kick back up on the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 5th. So just basically from the 24th through the 26th, no show, 27th show, 29th show, New Year's Eve show. There we go. That's where it's at. Okay, we got that out of the way. And everybody can hear me, right? This says 18 degrees here in Ohio. Cancer sun child has a bad cold. A lot of people got down with colds, right? A lot of people
came down with colds. Morning, Mary. How are you? Hello, Beth. So it seems like the colds of the viruses just are timed release, and everybody's kind of going through their not everybody, but a lot of people are. And I had it about 2 weeks ago, so I'm over it. I'm done, and it was a nasty little sucker. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was kind of above an intolerable threshold, and it stayed there for a while, which is what I hate. And probably had its origin somewhere on Plum Island, no doubt. Okay, so let's get to the business at hand. Talking about impeachment today, because it seems like it is the topic du jour. And I wanted to kind of address some of the latest pieces around this ongoing psychodrama that we're witnessing and facing in Washington, D.C. So, of course, the latest is that they've impeached Trump, and he's only the third president to have been impeached. And we all know that it's bullshit. Now, I'm not saying that there could be impeachable offenses in his past as a citizen, okay? But that's a different story. That's a very different story. I don't think anybody who rises to the level of success and power that Donald J. Trump has, and they're clean. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Even the sort of the cleanliest man in the land, the Pope, is corrupt. He's corrupt as hell, literally and figuratively. So people don't get there without having to take a few showers along the way. And you just look at, and again, I'm here to give you my perspective and how I perceive things, and it's not always going to be pretty on the Trump side, you know. And I will stand and support a lot of the stuff that is happening right now, not against him, right? I'm not on that side of the fence either. So you got to be clear in this. It's really interesting. You know, I did this video with Heather Eland, and it's always interesting to see how people in her world perceive me, because over here, like, you guys have decided to get on board, and God bless you. Chatlandia is great. And there isn't always a ton of dissent, which is, with all my Libra in my chart, I actually appreciate. I mean, I've dealt with dissent. I've dealt with people not digging what I do, whatever. That's fine. But it's a lot easier and more fun when we're all together and we're all part of one team, and we all have kind of similar objectives and similar rules. And by the way, not everybody in Chatlandia agrees with me either, right? Which is a cool thing too, because, you know, you're still here, which means that there's enough for you to say yes on versus you to say no on it, because if it was more no's than yes, you'd be out of here, right? So it's always interesting to see how I'm perceived by people in her world as I skim through the comments. And there's this one gal who basically said that she was a little angry with Heather, a little upset with her because of her views and the fact that she had me on her show, but she cut her some slack and decided to, you know, come back on board and, you know, get into Heather's message and her astrological breakdowns. And now here I am. And now she's really done. She's really done. Because she went over to my website and she went over and listened to my stuff. And she believes that I am somebody who is into separating children from their parents. I mean, I don't know where she got that, how she came to that conclusion. Maybe it's because that I'm somebody who does believe in borders. Yeah, that's right. I believe in borders. I think borders are actually good. Boundaries are good. Boundaries are good for people. Boundaries are good for countries. They're good. They're there for a reason. They're a filter. That's what they are, right? We all have filters, and a border is a boundary that allows the other two bodies on both sides of the border to have some level of discernment. That's what a border represents. If you're wide open all the time, you have no discernment. One time I plunged into this crazy substance called ibogaine, long time ago. And it's not something that you do and want to jump back into the pool again anytime soon. But what it did, and we're talking 90s, right? Like early 90s, I think it was around 94, so 25 years ago. But totally memorable. I remember so many details about this experience. And one of the details that really stuck with me was the fact that after that trip was over, I had no boundaries. I had no border. I was just, there was nothing here. And I remember just feeling like I was about 6 years old again, and or 5 years old. 6, I was a strange little 6-year-old kid. I was different. All right. So let's go back around 4 or 5. I felt like about a 4 or 5-year-old. And I remember going to this copy shop. I was getting some copies made of something, and just being wide open. Like there was just nothing between me and the world. And I go in, and there's this woman there, and she's having some kind of transaction. And I'm naively thinking that she is remotely close to the same kind of level of permeability that I'm at. And so I, kind of went, opened up to her. It wasn't like I was trying to hug her or anything. It wasn't that soft. But I was willing to embrace her energy and say something to her in passing that was, I thought, nice. And she was on such an automated trip and angry, really angry. And she wasn't angry at me, but she had deep-seated anger, and it was getting acted out in her transactions. And, when you're in places like that, not the copy shop, but inside yourself, you can see these things. You can see how people can act certain things out, and it's not even really them, right? It's some spirit or some program that's just kind of overriding who they are in that moment. But I felt it in such an intense way that I experienced rejection in this, very trivial kind of account in personal transaction inside of this place that did copying. Now, she won't remember anything about that. But for me, it was stunning and shocking to feel somebody's unconscious energy in such a way that it was borderline traumatic. And that's what happens when you don't have borders. That's what happens when you don't have boundaries. Aldous Huxley talks about this in The Doors of Perception. And basically he talks about this thing that we have in our head, which is like a limiter. And the limiter limits the amount of information that we can take in, and allows us to live in the world on a day-to-day basis. And what Huxley realized is that when he ingested mescaline, or when he ingested magic mushrooms, psilocybin, that limiter went away, and that he was able to have what's called a thou relationship with the universe, that everything was an extension of who he was, not from the place of ego, but from the place of essence, right? But you can't live like that every day. You can't live like that every day. If you live like that every day, then the world becomes you're operating in a state and a field of madness, because those states induce a temporary madness, and it can be good if it's in the right place, right set, the right setting. It can be very, very good. But if it's not, then you've got issues and challenges. So bringing this back to the border piece is that we have to have borders in our lives. We have to have psychic borders in our lives. If we don't, then we're running around like Alyssa Milano. because she obviously has no borders. I was listening to her yesterday or 2 days ago. She was leading some kind of prayer impeachment thing, and it was bizarre. It was so bizarre. Like this is somebody who's living without any kind of borders. And I watched her so-called debate with Ted Cruz about guns, and she was pathetic. It was almost like she was turning it into a therapy session. She wilted into this very dependent, very dependent person, almost like looking for Ted Cruz to heal her or give her some kind of permission. It was just so bizarre. Here's this firebrand and, sticking her head into the Kavanaugh hearings and just full of, St. Elmo's fire. But when it came to actually debating Ted Cruz, she was reduced to being a child, looking for approval, which is really what she's doing. She's looking for approval more than anything. So she had this prayer vigil, and she basically got all worked up about Trump, and then she said, "I want you to grab each other's hands, and I want you to look in each other's eyes and to understand the struggle, to understand what brought you to this moment. And I want you to take it all in, all of it, every single second of this moment. And then I want you to repeat what I'm about to say. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win." This went on, right? This is a cheer that my 9-year-old / 10-year-old son chanted before a baseball game. Same thing. Same thing. No boundaries, no borders. So boundaries and borders are important. Not only are they important in our lives, because a boundary and a border allows you to have an agreement with somebody who's crossing your border. You decide who you get to let in. And you don't want to let everybody into your border. You don't want everybody to cross your boundary. If you do, you'll be in trouble. Trust me, you'll allow people into your life that you'll regret allowing into your life. Now, there are times when it's okay to let people in, right? How do you do that? You vet them. You vet the process. And you vet the fact that, oh, okay, well, this person can be a part of my experience. I'm letting this person into my life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fine, great. But if you don't do that, you just let everybody in, you've got issues. You have issues. By the way, I read this report that now I'm not sure if it's the same for men, but apparently women retain the genetic matter of a male once the male deposits his genetic matter inside of a woman, and that genetic matter becomes part of the woman and can be passed on to her offspring. Right? Very interesting. I was, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and how it impacts children, and how it impacts who children are and what they become, and how, in a lot of ways, sometimes children can be so different than their parents and take on different traits and characteristics. Now, I know that there's a whole DNA chain, a whole DNA code that goes back a number of generations. And that can be another reason why that older DNA can be triggered, lit up. But there's also more recent DNA that's taken on that can be part of that experience as well. And sometimes it can even affect their physical appearance. And I'll never forget, like when my kid was born, like he did not look like my kid. I have to say, he did not look like me. His skin tone was dark. In fact, he was so not me that when he was being pushed around in a shopping cart, there was this woman in the grocery store who looked at his mom and said, "Oh, what a beautiful little baby. Is his father from the South Pacific? I mean, he looked like a little Samoan." And because his skin tone was different, and even his nose, like he had his nose is not like mine. It's more kind of wider and flared, right? So I'm like, okay, well, and eventually the dominant traits or whatever kicked in, and he does, resemble me. But for a while there, I was like, let me see where this goes. Right? I mean, that's kind of where it was. Anyway, just an interesting little side note. Whoa, well, why am I talking about this? It's about borders. It's about what you let in. Okay, so, and I know it sounds corny and maybe borderline misogynist, sexist, but maybe this whole idea of virginity for both men and women might actually be a good thing. It might be a good thing that both men and women can hold on to their essence so that it's not splayed out and broadcast across the gene pool. And that when they do literally and figuratively come together, it is a more harmonic vibration and expression of the potential output. Just a thought. So this is the reason why I'm talking about this is because this woman was, freaky deaky about my material. And she basically said that, oh, I'm one of these people. And this is what she said, that incites violence. Like she's looking at like MAGA Nation. It's an interesting word, MAGA Nation. Anyway, she was looking at MAGA Nation and she sees, MAGA Nation as being something that is violent and angry and actually incites violence. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Have you ever taken a look at Antifa? Have you ever taken a look at those people? Have you seen what they've done? You see what they do? They like, spray these milkshakes into people's heads. Milkshakes, of course, being a combination of quick drying cement mixed with glue and all kinds of other stuff. It's terrible. To get it off your face, you have to rip the flesh. It's really bad. I haven't seen any MAGA people or Trump's people do that. And in fact, they're often the recipients of vitriol and even violence. Recently, and again, I'm just reporting what I see. Okay. Recently, there was a group of women in a Washington hotel. There were about 200 of them, and they were like ladies for Trump or some shit like that. And they were there, and there was a group of other people from this wedding party at the same hotel that didn't like who they are or were or what they stood for. So they started to get aggressive towards these women. And there was this guy who was there, who was a part of their group, former Navy SEAL. He had to intervene. But it wasn't like, so again, do the math there. Who's doing what to whom, right? Do the math. Who is, this Nick Sandman? The kid was just standing there. And then you had Nathan Phillips in his face, banging his drum, right? And of course, it was like the smirk on Nick Sandman's face. This is the smirk of the youth of today who are privileged, the elite youth of today coming from a private Catholic school in Kentucky. Meanwhile, the real shit disturbers are the Black Hebrew Israelites who hate everybody. And they were there, vibrating at a super dark, angry level, kind of infecting the space, right? But people don't take time to look at these things. They just want to label you because labels are convenient. This is what happens. Labels are convenient. They stamp you. Okay, I can stamp this person as being supportive of whatever this thing is. And so he disqualifies himself from me. I even talked about hermaphrodite and Baphomet and unisexuality and trans. Some people didn't like that either. They didn't like me comparing Aphrodite. Hermaphrodite to Baphomet. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Baphomet is unisexual, right? It is the resolution of duality, as the people who are into symbolic language like to talk about. And I always get chided for that, by the way, too. That's on the other side, right? So on the other side, I get the occult esotericists saying, "Oh, you're labeling Baphomet as being bad. Don't you understand? It's just the resolution of duality. Don't you understand that?" It's like, okay, yeah, I do get that. And there's an entity involved in the process as well, all right? So what they're trying to do is they're trying to recreate the species so that the species is more Baphometric. That's what transgenderism is about. Transgenderism is a cult of Baphomet. I'm sorry. Whether people understand that or not, it is. Because they're trying to, circle the square, so to speak. Right? Or this is what they're trying to do. Anyway, people just have weird ideas and they just want to, attach them because it takes them too long and it takes too much time to actually sift through and think. And what I have realized, and I'm going to speak to the women that are in the chat room or watch this video, kudos to you, hats off to you, because you are using your brains, you're using your intellect, you're using your abilities to discern. You are not just being emotionally driven by your decision-making process. I'm sorry, I'm just right now talking about women, because it seems like when I encounter that through Heather's videos or that kind of intersection with her world, it's the women who have a difficult time with what I'm talking about or my ideas. And it just seems to be more emotionally driven than intellectually driven, okay? And I think by and large, women are set up biologically to be connectors, to have empathy, to be able to hold emotional space. And it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that that's all who women are, because there are some obviously very bright women. And a lot of them are in the chat room today, okay? So I just need to qualify that as well. But by and large, this is the bicameralization of how the species has worked for a very long time. Men don't talk about their feelings, right? They don't. That's not what men do. They don't talk about their feelings. And men they basically had an inquisition in the 70s that said, you better start talking about your feelings. Because if you don't start talking about your feelings, you're not going to get laid. That was really the mandate. So men had to get in touch with their feelings. And then once men got in touch with their feelings and became all touchy-feely, women were like, ooh, really? Ooh, I can get this from my girlfriend. Why do I have to talk to you about this? That's a little too close. Maybe you should be more manly, right? The poor men, they're just trying like, oh shit. Okay, well, we got to get more in touch with our feelings. Now we are, and now we're being rejected because, we've gone from, trying to pound our chest, be the alpha to, be the beta, essentially. And it's kind it's beta programming. That's what men went through. And they're still going through it to this day. Right now, men are going through beta programming. I'm going to do this show on commercials tomorrow. And one of the commercials that I'm going to talk about is an Old Spice commercial. And it speaks exactly to what I'm talking about. And in the Old Spice commercial, it's a couple. And they happen to be so-called Black or so-called African-American. And the guy is, what Old Spice is trying to do is they're trying to, just like a lot of other products, they're trying to morph from being products that are kind of manly and masculine and morphing them into kind of a more metrosexual kind of application, personal application. So in this particular commercial, this guy and his woman are in robes or either at a resort or they have the perfect place to live, because everybody in commercials has the fucking perfect place to live in. And the guy is emotional. He's emotional because he wanted to, have a shea butter body wash, whatever that is. And she was using his shea butter body wash product. Oh, now you see that the product is now transferable to the woman, a unisexual product. And he gets all emotional about it. And she's the one that is the rational and clear one, right? But it's really interesting to watch this commercial because it really typifies this idea now of men, being in touch with their emotions. And men can be in touch with their emotions. I'm not saying that men can't be, but it's a different access point. It's just a different access point. Bottom line. And so I'll have this commercial. I'll talk more about it tomorrow, along with a number of other commercials that I'm going to queue up and break down, because I've seen some very interesting trends again lately. So it's kind of time to get caught up with that. So this gets into this idea of the impeachment and why the impeachment is taking place. And the impeachment is taking place for a number of reasons, obviously. One of the reasons being that they want to impeach Trump. So when he runs for re-election, which he will, his opponents will have something to hang their hats on. That's why they're doing this. Oh, you were impeached, and then he'll have to relive this thing over and over and over again. And this is one of the reasons why, if you've been listening to Trump, he's been threatening to not participate in the debates, which is an interesting preemptive, proactive move on his part. Now, I'm sure he will go to the debates. But the reason why he's putting this out there, and the reason why he's even considering it, is because he knows that at every single debate, he'll have to defend himself. And when you have to defend yourself, you are in a regressive position. You are not controlling the narrative if you have to defend yourself. And that's why character assassination and all the very aggressive tactics on the left have been so popular, because it's through those tactics, those machinations, that the narrative is controlled. Whether it's real or not doesn't really matter, right? So he knows that they're controlling the narrative in that presidential debate setting. So that's one reason why this has happened. It's a big one. It's probably right at the top of the list. By the way, now, Nancy Pelosi, the latest is that she may not take the articles of impeachment to the Senate. She may not do that. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg or whatever, or whoever is showing up as RBG these days, she has said that senators are going to have to be vetted for their impartiality. Like they're going to have to take an impartiality quiz or something like that. And by the way, the Constitution says that it only takes 2/3 of senators in House, meaning they have to be present. Only 2/3 of senators that are present for a vote to impeach. Now think about that. That means that not every senator has to show up if it gets that far. And not every senator might be able to show up. It's the ones that are there. Not every single one of them. So wrap your head around that for a moment too. That's the one little piece of kryptonite. There's always a little piece of kryptonite somewhere, right? There's always some little kind of glitchy matrix thing, for better or worse. But I'll tell you why they're impeaching and going through all of this. Yeah, partially it's to smear Trump and keep him from being able to just run roughshod over these clowns that are running for president. They're doing this because they hate the people that voted for Trump. And I know this is really not a novel idea, but I have to talk about it. It's very important. They're doing this because they hate Trump, the people that voted for Trump. They're doing this, if you're listening to this and you support Trump, or you support the process, and you voted for Trump, or you have ideas and ideals that are more right of center than, say, left of center, they're doing it for you. That's who they're doing it for, because they hate you. They hate you for voting for this man. They hate what you stand for, because there are check boxes of values that theoretically you stand for, which they don't stand for, and they hate you. And this is their punishment for you for voting for Trump. We're going to make it so hard that every single day you're going to have to deal with the fact that you're going to wake up, you're going to watch the news, and we're going to be in your face. We're going to be in your living room. We're going to be in your airports. We're going to be in your head. We're going to be in your bed. We're going to be with you 24/7. And we're going to punish you for voting for this man. We're going to demoralize you. We're going to demoralize you. But what they don't understand is that now that we're living in the inverted universe, their actions are actually more galvanizing than they've ever been before, because we reached a tipping point, and that tipping point has already occurred. And the tipping point that occurred is that people are less they're less able to be bullied at this point. And that's exactly what these people like Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler, and they love to cloak themselves in this idea of the Constitution and the founders and the Republic. And it just makes me want to gag. These people will use any language, any symbol, any kind of nostalgic trope, patriotic trope for their end goal, right? And that's what they're doing. They've all become so patriotic in the last 3 to 4 months. It's a wonderful thing to witness in a lot of ways, but we know it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. So they're doing this for you. But what's happened is that the tipping point's already occurred, and the more that they do it, the more it becomes a galvanizing force and a galvanizing influence. And they, who knows? I mean, maybe on some hyper level, they're all working together and colluding. This is all just grand kabuki and theater. And it is on some level, right? But it also has a net effect on the people that are taking it in. And I'm talking about the people that they're going after. But this is really the fuel for their revolution. And we're in a coup. We've been in a coup stage for a while. I've been talking about this shit now for about, 2 years? I've been talking about the Bolshevik Revolution. I've been talking about the Purple Revolution. It's happening, and they want to flip the script inside this country. And they're doing everything in their power to do that. And the challenge, though, is that it chases people who don't want to be bullied, or they don't want to be targeted. They don't want to be traumatized. It chases them into the opposite camp. And I've already described what the opposite camp is, which is this idea of nationalism that's bolted together with Zionism. So like, oh, come on over here. We'll take you. Come on. John Hagee, come, child. Come into my house. Anyway, but the left doesn't understand that. The tipping point's already occurred. And so everything they do now is actually galvanizing and strengthening. And people are they're in a process of endurance as they get through this. It's like, okay, we've had our baptism. We've had our baptism of blood and mud and, being slung across the congressional aisles and all that stuff. Essentially what's happening is people are getting battle hardened and hardened in general. They're getting hardened in general, which is not always a good thing. But they have to, right? People have to. They have to have a psychic callus around them, especially if they're having to deal with this shit every single day as part of this process that's being pumped through the media. And the left now thinks that they've won because they've had an impeachment. And this is their Pyrrhic victory. And again, I'm not pointing it out because I'm anti-left, although I think they're fucking nuts in a lot of ways. And I think the right has its own particular brand of evil that, you know, they've been cloaking for a while anyway. And they assume the position of this kind of, you know, moral body. In many cases, they're anything but. Again, just want to keep the record clear. But it's a Pyrrhic victory at best. At best. And after all this ends, and they're doing it all around Christmas too, right? I mean, they're doing it, and I guess they're doing it around Hanukkah as well. We don't want to separate ourselves out from our friends. But anyway, they're doing it in a particular time. And that's the dump on this so-called holiday season. And I say so-called because I really don't believe that Jesus was born on the 24th of December. I have my own thoughts about that. You can read about them on my website. Anyway, the people are getting battle hardened now, battle tested. We're in a war. It's a psychic war. It's a psychological war. And people are going through this every single day. You know what happens? You know why the Saudis have had a really hard time dispatching the Houthis? Because the Houthis were involved in their own war in Yemen for a very long time. They were going through a civil war in Yemen. So the Houthis had already been battle tested. They've been scarred. They've been training. They know what to do. So that, you know, by the time the Saudis came along, the Houthis were like, all right, let's roll up the sleeves. Let's go. And the Saudis haven't been able to do shit in Yemen. Oh yeah, they bombed stuff, and a lot of people have lost their lives, but they haven't taken it over. It's because once they got on the ground, you can't just win a war by firing missiles. You have to actually physically take the land. That's the whole idea around war. They can't do that. They get there, and the Houthis are smoking them out. They're battle tested. And so, unfortunately, we've been in a psychic and psychological war for the last 3 years. And so people are, you know, there's a point where you get battle weary. People get battle weary, but I feel like people have already pretty much, you know, gone beyond that. And I know some people can't handle it. I know some people have reached the end of their rope. It's just too much for them. And I think we're going to see more and more people wanting to tap out because the volume and intensity is not going to be dialed back anytime soon. It's just not. So what are you going to do? Right? You're going to do everything in your power, apart from all of this, to take care of your vehicle, take care of your body, good things in it, know what you're putting in your body. Very important. Very, very important. Know what you're putting in your body. Find the right diet. Now, I'm an O positive. I know what my diet is, okay? My diet is basically meat and a few sort of root vegetables that are not high in oxalates. Keep it simple. That's for me. Find your right diet, the one that works for you and makes you healthy, keeps you healthy. Do that. So once you do that, you're putting the right fuel in your system. In terms of relationships, it's the same thing. You know, you've got to have the right emotional nutrients in your body. So you need to have the right people in your life, the people that support you, the people that love you, the people that will tell you the truth about who you are, both positively and theoretically negatively. These people are really important, right? Just because somebody says something every now and then that you know doesn't get all warm and fuzzy with you, it doesn't mean you kick them out. These are the people that you want around you. You know, these are the people that can look you in the eye and say, "You're fucking up," or I really, if you want my opinion, you're going about this in a direction that's going to lead you down the wrong path. Right? You need these people in your life. They're important, and they feed a certain part of our experience. So we have the right food and we have the right people. And then the other piece is the right livelihood. And the right livelihood is a tricky one, especially now. We're in this strange kind of flux with work, purpose, service, automation is really, not knocking at the door. But right livelihood is really important. And even if you don't make a ton of money, right livelihood is important. If you have that, and you have the right people, and you have the right diet, and you have enough money to live on, you have all those things feeding you, you can get through a lot. The fourth piece is you must cultivate a relationship with, I'm going to use the G word, God within you. Okay? You've got to cultivate a relationship with that. The Most High, we're nothing without it. Trust me, I understand this. I've been in places where that frequency, that vibration has been cut off, that light has been cut off, and it is a very difficult place to dwell. So we have to have that. We have to invite that into our lives as kind of this, the quote unquote master builder of our own experience, right? That's very important not on an abstract level, but on a very personal level. So you have basically the food you eat and the nutrients you take in, the fellowship, the people that are important in your life, right livelihood, doing things that are not bleeding your soul. And if you're doing things that are bleeding your soul, no matter how old you are, you have to address that, or you have to compensate for that. Because sometimes we have to do things that aren't always feeling really good. So in that case, you have to find something else in your life that can also supplement, kind of what you're having to deal with. So whether that's a hobby or a pastime or a passion, you have to incorporate that into your life so that you don't get everything sucked dry and out of you, right? So we have right diet, right lifestyle, right friends, right community, right fellowship, right livelihood, and then right relationship to spirit, to God. You have all four of those things. Those are the four pillars. Those are the foundations, the cornerstones for how we get through these times. And if you can anchor all of them, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And the reason you'll be okay is because you'll make better decisions. You'll have people around you that will support your decision-making process. You'll all make better decisions together. And how do you do it? You have some borders, you have some boundaries, you use discernment. Bringing us all the way back to the beginning of today's little conversation. All right, let's see what we have going on in Chatlandia. I'm talking a lot. Let's say, good look at O minus blood. O minus. What else do we have? A plus. I don't think about my diet, but I suspect the A positive people, that's basically a vegetarian diet. Peter Diamato, the guy that did the Eat Right for Your Type book, that book changed my life. Totally changed my life. And I've seen it. I've seen people and their diets based on their blood type. I was always envious of the B diets, the B blood types, because I think they were able to eat the most ice cream. Let's see. A plus is fish. Yeah, it is fish. Yeah, and a lot of veggies. Let's see. Great lesson to learn. What way to overcome? I will look into that. Well, we got a lot of blood type. My narc mom wasn't affectionate. She cringed when I hugged her. So as I grew, I interpreted that as rejection. So it kept me stuck in that delusion until my dear friend showed me. That's a tough one. Sacred feminine is being destroyed. I'd agree with that. I would agree with that. It is being destroyed. It's being desecrated completely. Let's see what else we have here. My dad used to train Saudi Marines. If it's boots on the ground situation, they're going to have a hard time. Oh, the Saudis, absolutely. Oh yeah, for sure. And they even have a hard time when they fly planes. Apparently, because of the pilots of the Royal Saudi Air Force come from the kids of the royal families in Saudi Arabia. And apparently, in most cases, there's like this high degree of kind of inbreeding on some level, right, to keep the bloodlines intact. And as a result, their eyesight is fucked. So they make terrible pilots too. That's what I've read. Okay, what else? Psychic callus. True. Did you have a show on Pelosi's chart? How does it read Trump's chart? I have not. I think I did do a show on that one time. I think I did. Pelosi's an Aries. So she's just going to ram ahead. That's what she does. That's what Aries does. What else do we have here? I loved a variety of food. A-. I loved it as I got older. Oh, that's good. Many think O negative related to the lost city of Atlantis. O negative people are very interesting. They don't have the monkey. They don't have the monkey blood in them like the O positives do. So yeah, the O negatives, I think connected to the redheads. That's my take, right? And it's like maybe the blood of the Grail or something like that. Was it Jesus that was AB? Didn't they do like a blood type of the Shroud of Turin? And if that's really Jesus, that blood type is an AB, which is an interesting blood type, very new blood type too, by the way, based on a lot of migration patterns. O positive. It's amazing. It's great that you guys know what your blood type is. A lot of people don't. By the way, O positive, highly prized in Japan. The Japanese do a lot of hiring based on blood type. Like when you fill out an application in Japan, in many cases you'll have to know and state your blood type, because if you have certain blood type for a position that does not match your temperament of that blood type, you won't get the job. How about that? And I think there's some truth to that too, by the way. My aunt is O negative. She's a piece of work. O positive monkey blood? Yes, apparently we do. Ooh. All right, I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for being part of today's show. Not a lot of visuals today, but a lot to think about, perhaps. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, Chatlandia, for being here every day. Appreciate you. And to everybody that listens to and watches this thing that I do Tuesday through Friday, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this. It's I feel like it's a really great honor in a lot of ways to, have a few people to kind of tune in and watch what I'm talking about or thinking about or, playing around with. So thank you for being a part of it. I appreciate you, even if I don't know you. And I think that's it. All right, I'll be back tomorrow with Friday Forecast. I'm going to have a bunch of commercials that I'm going to break down. You're going to want to see it. You're going to want to see what's happening, where the trends are, and the predictive programming that's in place for the future that may or may not include you. Until then, use to discern what's real, stay open to what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Have yourself a great day.